Second.
That was Scott seconded. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Also sent with the agenda were the minutes from the June, let me turn it over, 8th meeting of the executive committee. Are there any changes to the minutes, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June 8th meeting.
This is Janet. I'll make a motion.
Okay, Janet's moved. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Sonia.
Sonia seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve those minutes. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Heard none. So those have been approved, and the Indiana State Library is now up to give a report.
All right. It's doing the thing. All right, it is doing the thing. Outstanding. All right, welcome everybody. Start off as we usually do with our special project participation stats. Currently, as of last check, we're at 77 libraries participating in transit media. 46 libraries are now fully fine-free.
The thing so we can see that translating the no on your desktop. Move the Evergreen Indiana so we can see that number underneath it. For translating media.
With the Evergreen Indiana.
No,
Your
it's
icon.
on the
Oh.
other laptop.
I'm going to need a motion to move this down.
So moved.
See if that.
46 fully fine-free libraries, 1 juvenile fine-free library, and 5 fine-free bookmobiles. We're up to 80 auto-renewing libraries now. So we're well past the halfway point on auto renewals, getting closer to halfway on fine-free here. One thing I wanted to mention now that we have, this is our first official meeting with the new executive board that was elected back in May. So welcome to our new members who are officially now acting in their full capacity as members of the executive committee. I have replaced, or I have on our website, we portion out committee members to different regions of the state here. So I have the map of the different regions. It is color coded in a way that is probably not very easy to see. Yeah, especially the lighting in here. It's very difficult to tell the shade between magenta and slightly darker magenta, and also red. But I've got these slides here that will kind of point the executive committee members to the different regions that you are representing.
Yeah.
So changes here. Can I do this? This is going to be, I'm really tempting fate trying to do this side by side. Okay. That almost works. I vaguely tried to color code this, except that this isn't showing share. Share both. I can share the screen. Outstanding. All right, excellent. I've done the thing. All right. So the North Central region, it has been I have arbitrarily decided that Nicholas Stephen, that'll be your territory there. That's the orange there.
And it doesn't, I don't have to be from that. region.
It is actually explicitly,
Discouraged.
I would say, it was explicitly chosen that you are not in the same area where you are. I don't want to say governing your colleagues, but
Okay,
it is to prevent stepping on any toes in your region there.
okay.
So Janet is covering East Central, the slightly bluer blue. Where am I? Mouse pointer show so I can show this blue over here. And then Cheryl, who's not with us today, will be covering the Southeast region here in red. Those are just the 3 districts that were open by the previous members who have rotated off the committee. And I have just chosen regions that again, that your libraries are not currently located in. So now we'll go back. Screen sharing. I feel like I'm getting the hang of this. It's only taken 6 months. Okay, all right, that is all for the state library report, I believe.
This is all part of the state.
Sorry,
library
yes, sorry, the training, this is the training subcategory of the
report.
state
Can you
report.
actually hear me through this microphone so I don't need to turn it on my computer? Is that not loud enough?
We should be able to hear you okay, but if anybody in the audience wants to confirm whether they can hear Ruth.
I just wanted to ask, are you going to email out that map and the assignments to the committees and the EC?
I can email it out to whoever you like. It's currently on the blog.
Okay,
I can get the links to those out there because they are, if you've ever tried to use the Evergreen Indiana blog, first off, it's still called a blog,
Yeah, it's not a blog, it's a website.
which is,
okay.
despite the fact that it has blog in the URL, it's not the easiest to find here. So let me go ahead while Ruth is talking. I will go ahead and paste those in chat here. And then I will send those out to the executive committee separately as well.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Thank you.
Probably relevant here. And maybe I should know this, but I don't. What's my responsibility to my region?
Essentially, it is if there are things that come up in either the executive committee or in the consortium at large, you're kind of a point person for them to contact if they have questions.
Got it.
If you don't know the answer, you can either direct them up the chain or you can ask up the chain.
Okay,
It's not really a chain or
Sure.
up, but you know what I
Yep.
mean? So
Yes,
that's
yes.
essentially what it is for you to.
I'm a resource for them.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And every so
Potentially
often-
advocate.
And every so often something will come up where like we need to either get an opinion or, just how is this working for people? And I just kind of reach out very informally and then
Just kind
report
of
back.
gauge it,
So,
yeah.
Okay,
It's pretty low key and pretty low burden as well.
Yeah.
Most libraries don't need it, but sometimes they
okay.
And a lot of libraries will just reach out, for most of their needs, they'll reach out directly to the admin office
Sure.
for a lot of what they need. I guess in the case of like inter-library.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is to promote the idea of open door,
Mhm.
which is not like a codified policy, of course, in the consortium, it's different, but to say, well, maybe they're not comfortable talking to anybody on the admin team and would prefer to talk to a colleague. This provides that colleague point person,
Okay,
just to keep the communication flowing.
I think I understand. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
As far as training goes, we had a full schedule of Evergreen fundamental skills courses. In July, we had about 85 individuals who participated throughout the 5 courses, which is down from the spring, which is up from the winter, and that's usually what we see happening every year so far is summer courses in the middle of summer reading. It's also continues to be weird with COVID and scheduling and staffing and everything is weird. So it was weird, but it was good. I am working on getting the most recent recordings for those classes up on the Evergreen Indiana YouTube training channel. I can never decide if I'm going to put training or YouTube first in that. So this is oh, I'm clicking on a screen that I'm not actually in this PowerPoint. That's a live link. I'm not sure if this has actually been shared out to the committee, but if not, you can just do a Google search for Evergreen Indiana training YouTube and it will take you there. I think it's the first link, YouTube results. There are some playlists in there. I'm also, we'll talk about the interest groups as well. If you want to go back to the presentation. So the interest groups have been, for me at least, I can only speak from my perspective, have been really cool. It's nice to have a more informal gathering of people where we can talk about little bite-sized training topics and specifically for cataloging to kind of pull apart the actions that have been taken by the cataloging committee and what that means for catalogers in the consortium, and then some other hot topic things in there. There is a playlist of those interest groups on the YouTube training channel as well. And I think I'm missing one recording, so we'll make up for it. That is a monthly gathering that everybody is invited to. The only month that we don't meet is when there is a cataloging committee, which happens right now quarterly. So our next meeting for the cataloging interest group will be in October because there's a cataloging committee meeting in September on that first Monday of the month. The reports interest group has kind of, I think, filled a bit of a hole in terms of the training. Previously, reports training was like this little hour-long thing hooked onto the local admin training. It wasn't nearly enough time to go over the little bits and pieces that go into the reporter and all of its idiosyncrasies and such. So it's nice to actually talk about some specific topics again related to reporting that again is an informal gathering where we generally have some topics of focus to actually go through some workflows and procedures on how to do things, and then time for discussion if there is any, and that happens bi-monthly. The next one will be first Thursday of the month in October. I did mean to actually have here linked the Evergreen Indiana annual conference schedule, but Keith will be sending that out in an update and we don't really need to go through it today. In fact, it's probably already gone out at several places. We do have 11 dedicated sessions that will be happening along 3 tracks for the conference. The tracks being admin and or management, cataloging and technical services, and then technology. Yeah, I didn't actually name those all correctly, but
Soft skills.
yeah, soft skills and management, and then technology. And and then we're still working on establishing the procedures and the next thing in the training update for the MCLS cataloging training scholarships that was discussed at the June meeting. We set aside $4,500 to provide scholarships to certified catalogers to take cataloging courses through MCLS. And that's also leveraging the Indiana State Library's institutional membership. So while the catalogers themselves won't have to pay anything, it doesn't really matter at that point. Evergreen Indiana will only have to pay the membership rate for those courses that they are eligible to take. And so we should have those draft procedures available to the executive committee by the next meeting in October to hopefully vote on and have that pilot program then ready to roll out by the first of the year. Okay, we're still in the process of figuring out exactly how to proceed, not really how to proceed, how to codify the local admin certification program that we talked about last meeting as well. This is a rough, I don't know that rough is, a draft version of where we are headed with that. I informally call it Cat 1 certification light, so that it has some similarities to what is required in terms of training and ongoing continuing education to the Cat 1 permission level within the consortium, but it's a little bit less than that, and you can see where those are moving the entire consortium toward using individual local admin accounts for each staff person that has the permission and the training. No more shared generic local admin accounts. Recorded attendance, and I am reading this now and it sounds like a video recording. We keep a of people who have attended Cat 1, and we track those trainings, and that's how we make sure the certification that they have stays up to date. And it would be similar to that for local admin, so that recorded attendance in an Evergreen Fundamental Skills local admin course since 2019, and then a required annual refresher, which would fall in line with what the Cat 1 permission requires. But before any of this happens, we will begin by sending out a survey to all of the member libraries to see who is using local admin accounts, what accounts they're using, who the people in charge at local libraries want to have them, and where we go from there. And we'll be sending that survey out prior to the October executive committee meeting.
Just keep right on rolling through with the development report here, Ruth.
Okay, some of this is me and some of this isn't. The triggered events log for large data sites is something that we anticipate seeing in our next upgrade. Here in Evergreen, Indiana, it came out in version 3.7, which is the most current stable release of Evergreen ILS. We're currently in feedback fest for 3.8, which means it'll be released, but it won't be stable for the next, well, it'll be stable, but it won't be considered stable by the time we upgrade next. I'm going to let Keith talk about the next two, and then I will follow up at the end of that cover art uploader with a reminder.
The change holds type, I don't have much of an update on the change holds type. That's by, that's Emerald.
That's Emerald, and
Emerald.
that's yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's going to be Adam Bowling.
Yeah, that's Adam. That is not, I do not have a status update from him on how that's going. We can poke him and
Send the dogs out to track him
we
down.
will, yeah.
Do I need to go track down Adam and beat his head?
No, don't.
No physical, just
Just
nothing that leaves a mark.
bloodhound sniffing is
Yeah.
all.
Cover art uploader, we have signed the contract on that. Signed the contract on that in June. That is, again, this is a project that would allow individual libraries to upload their own cover art for items in their libraries for their own holdings. At the next cataloging committee meeting, we're going to talk about coming up with a policy about and guidelines for doing that. But the end goal is that, especially for a lot of those fiddly things like board games or chainsaws or whatever you want to circulate through the library of things, libraries will be able to upload their own pictures so that they don't have to spend a help desk ticket to do that. It'll just make everybody's lives a lot easier, and we're super looking forward to that code coming. It is currently slated, the code is slated to be delivered no later than end of Q3 2021, which if we did get it by that point, I don't have an idea of when it would actually go into our next build of Evergreen. I don't know if we have a, am I putting you on the spot here if you're trying to spitball that? But
It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are two options, because of the code that is being developed. It is possible that it will first be able to go in as a customized piece for Evergreen, Indiana, with
Right.
support from Equinox, to make that happen. And that's what we're envisioning happening and have kind of planned for. And then for it to find its way into the master version, and then the next release for Evergreen, which may be 3.9, or maybe there will be some discussion at the Hackaway if it is time for a major release to 4.0, or if we are staying with the 3s a little bit longer.
That will probably be discussed in that Hackaway.
It will be at the Hackaway. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
But,
So, but we will be coordinating, I will be coordinating the testing for that cover art uploader when the code drops. And so if you have people on staff who are doing original cataloging, specifically for things like kits, realia, library of things, all of those type things that would be utilizing this, I'll be sending out an interest survey to libraries after the cataloging committee meeting to see who wants to help test that piece of development.
I think that about covers here. Great, okay. All right. ECDI update here.
So I took a bunch of stuff that we want to do and put it into bundles, and I've talked to a few development houses, one of them being Equinox, one of them being Catalyte. They have a new project or team manager there, and figuring out how that's going to work. And then also more informally talking with Mobius about how they are doing development there, Mobius being out of Missouri. There are some little bitty things in there and some bigger things, and Keith has shared the link to that document that has the bundling there. Keith, if you can go to that real quick, I want to just make note that there are some things in there. They are all spies. Somebody just said Mobius, they're all spies. It's an inside joke. Someday you'll learn it. I'm going to tell it right now.
Harvey's got Tracy. Harvey's got Tracy.
No, yes. Of course. There are some stricken through lines there. Those are things that were prioritized by the ECDI, of which Evergreen, Indiana is a member, that being the Evergreen Community Development Initiative. Those have already been fixed through either other development projects or just kind of as the community goes through and angularizes the client, just meaning that it's converting from one display language to another display language. I'm not going to get further into that. So you can see what those bundles look like. The reason that they are bundled is to hopefully get some things taken care of together rather than these little bitty projects. So, and make it worth the developer's time in terms of money. That's what I have for that little document there. We will be, and we will be voting on at the next ECBI meeting, hopefully to sign the contract for Sprint 4, which is the major component for the Angular acquisitions project. We received a contract back from Equinox that is essentially 60% of the cost it was originally because of work that has been done by Bill Erickson at King County Library System. And that 60% is actually including some optional add-ons. If we just went with the basic Sprint, it would be 50%. So I'm kind of hoping that we pick up some of the options since it's a significantly less expensive thing now. And then we will also be discussing where we stand conceptually with stage 3 of the Did You Mean project, which is an OPAC search enhancement. It provides search suggestions based on whatever is input in there. The hesitancy that we have right now with proceeding is that the stage 2, which was single word, single class, breaks large data sites. And we are a large data site. It was discovered it was actually, stage 2 was released in 3.7. And it was discovered in Sitka, who has upgraded to 3.7, Sitka being in Canada. And they had to turn it off. And it's a bit of a bitter pill to pay tens of thousands of dollars to build something that you then have to turn off in order to be able to add bib records to your database. And that was the trade-off that they had, either to have search suggestions or add bib records, which we all decided was kind of a fundamental part of librarianship. And so they went with the adding of the bib records. So we're hoping to see some performance fixes on that. It has to do with the way that the dictionaries are indexed that create the suggestion lists. So where we stand on that. And I think that's it.
Well,
A lot of words there. Sorry about that.
all right. I'll try and make up for it with the fiscal report here. Good news that all of the 2021 quarter 1 reconciliation payments have been received. So the admin office should be putting together the checks to send out to your libraries here soon. So good job, everybody, getting everybody to pay up money here. We're currently at 90% of the quarter 2 payments have been received. So we're doing reasonably pretty well. I'm pretty happy. I usually have been making it a mission to try and get libraries to get those payments in more quickly. Just because I sat across the hall from our accountants at Greensburg for 10 years, and I understand firsthand every quarter the frustration they would go through and wanting to get their payments back quickly. I know it's difficult for a lot of libraries that only sign checks once a month, that if they, if it slips the mind, then, you got to wait another month for it to come up at the board meeting. So I'm trying to be as proactive as possible, getting in touch with those libraries to make sure that they get their checks not only signed, but also put in the mail. It turns out that signed check sitting on the desk doesn't get to us any faster than one that isn't signed at all.
Has there been any more talk with the foundation representative about ACH training to? Okay,
Yes,
so
there has.
recently, since the last time I said such thing.
Yes,
Okay.
question mark. Whenever the last time we set up my bank credentials was, when he was in the office.
But
Mostly
not
it's-
since then. Okay.
It's a,
Our bloodhounds are busy.
it's a process. I would love that. Even though it will cost us money to be able to allow that, it would be super nice for libraries to be able to pay by this solution. Bloodhounds, yes. We'll take a quick look at the balance sheet here, just so you can see where we are at. This is hopefully not going to be terribly ugly. Currently, we are at our current balance for what, 2/3 of the way through the year, we are at $144,922 remaining out of $369,891. So we both have money and are spending money, and I'd like to think that we are spending money judiciously. Recent big expenditures have been Novelist Plus through EBSCOhost. We just put in, which something to mention in our update here, we now have installed this year 3 new servers, one of which went live and was brought online over on July 5th there. The other 2 are now in their racks and ready to be brought on, and that is a upgrades that will replace the app and database, our oldest app and database servers. So hopefully you are seeing faster speeds on some of the user interfaces when you're using the catalog. And the next upgrades should help with things like placing holds, retrieving patrons. A lot of those actions should be a bit snappier, we hope.
Those upgrades will be, the servers will be put online Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day specifically, I believe, August
Yes.
6th, I want to say.
September 5th.
September the 6th, right.
I thought it was the 5th.
Keeping in mind that that is servers that are going to be replacing, that is not the upgrade from Evergreen 3.4 to 3.7, which will be around Thanksgiving-ish.
Yes, I am currently looking at November the 11th, which is Veterans Day.
I think I might have gotten ahead of myself there about the server upgrades, but
Yeah, probably, but that's okay.
it was relevant and it was there. If anybody has any questions about
Oh, it is the 6th. all right.
balance sheet, just let me know here. All right, we will go into our committee recaps here. I see that Monica is with us here. Monica, if you'd like to recap the cataloging committee, you are more than welcome. Our previous cataloging committee, you're welcome to do so.
Well, I was reviewing this morning, and the committee hasn't met since the last time the EC has met.
Okay.
I believe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely correct. I have lost track of all the, because I know the Patron Services Committee won't meet for quite some time yet either. So I've got the only committee that's met since the last EC meeting.
Yeah, we haven't met. I did, but I did want, so whatever, I wasn't at the last EC. So whatever was said then hasn't changed. But I will say that since that meeting, we've also had, the committee has been doing some discussion via email regarding a few things, series statements and how they sort. How we're going to deal with our new vocabulary for undocumented immigrants. And there's also been a discussion of OCLC is changing what they are requiring of a certain fixed field. And there's been discussion of that too. So we have been talking between meetings, but those will probably hopefully get those things make some progress on those at our next meeting, which is at the beginning of September.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
And just again, a huge shout out to the cataloging committee, who has done a huge amount of work in updating the cataloging training manual. That is, I believe, all completed now, and it is live. And they have really just poured tons and tons of time updating the wording and the procedures and putting in screenshots. I've got the copy the link address.
Thank you to Ruth as well on that. She did a lot of work to make that one single document, and she kind of, I think, took all of our work and put it all together. So I know she spent a lot of time doing that. So thanks to Ruth for her efforts as well.
Super satisfying. I was very happy to do it.
1 pages.
And really, it is worth saying, the cataloging committee did like the hard work of it.
Yeah.
Going through, there's one more chapter that needs to be done. It's a brand new chapter. So you will find that there is a chapter heading in there that's blank. You can link to it, but there's nothing there. And I believe it's the last chapter. Then there also is some addition in there of stuff for the experimental catalog.
Oh, excellent.
So that is,
Which will actually go live at 3/7.
well, yes, it will not be experimental anymore. So the cataloging committee et al. Will have more work to do relatively quickly as the experimental staff catalog becomes the default catalog in Evergreen at the next upgrade, and the traditional catalog becomes the soon to be deprecated but available for one more release catalog. Yay.
Awesome. Yep. Thanks again. All right. E-content committee met this morning at 10 a.m. So I'm trying to remember from a long ago what all we talked about this morning. We did have a presentation by Library IQ, who came in to talk about their analytics and collection development platform. We are going to touch base with them and see if they can get us pricing information and potentially give us one of their sweet consortium discounts for member libraries that want to opt into. It's not something that we are considering offering, that we are considering, what's the word?
Offering consortially.
Offering, yes, to the entire consortium while we foot the bill. It would be something that's available on opt-in status, but we're hoping that we can still hopefully make it a little bit cheaper for members if they wish to partake in that. Something that was kind of, I would say, an unpleasant surprise to us is we just recently got word that the price of Overdrive magazines for the EIDC is increasing from $18,000 per year to $45,000 per year. So there is a little bit of sticker shock there. There was some, I don't want to say miscommunication, but there was kind of, they sent out one email to one member of the consortium and
In
it didn't
November,
really
prior to
have the-
Thanksgiving.
yeah, it didn't really have the gravitas that it needed to convey that, by the way, the cost of your magazine subscriptions are going to increase 250%. Nor have we actually received like an invoice or anything like that. We're kind of, if we hadn't been approached by a member of the Indiana Digital Download Committee who said, hey, what are you guys paying for your magazines? We would have not known this until later. So it's good we know now, but we are in the process of trying to put together a survey to get some feedback from the EIDC libraries to see what that cost increase is going to do in terms of desire to stay with the service, whether that cost increase will be a deal breaker for some of them, or whether there's enough interest in the consortium to keep it going with some other libraries potentially bearing the burden of some of the libraries who are saying, no, I don't want anything to do with this. We've kind of done an informal look at the statistics and we found that there was something,
27,000.
yeah, I don't have the exact numbers to enter into the record, but it was around 27,000 circulations, magazine
From August of
circulations.
last year to August of this year.
Yep. So for 1 year's worth of circulations, that's 27,000.
So like a good number?
It feels like a not insignificant number, especially since a lot of libraries have adjusted the way that they do collection development for periodicals based on the availability of electronic resources. And Mary Glazier, who's not in this meeting, but mentioned as well, a lot of periodicals themselves have moved away from print and now are only available in digital format. It is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow in that Overdrive has, they have consumed essentially both RB Digital and Zinio, which would have been their major competitors in this regard. we are all, at least in the conversation we had, hopeful that Midwest Tape would find a way to compete with them. Because it kind of feels like we're a little bit over a barrel in terms of how to offer those things to our patrons.
To
you
justify the
ju-
cost that they are asking for.
Well, but what is the alternative?
Exactly.
I
There
mean,
is-
the alternative is what, to go back to magazines that no longer exist.
Yeah.
And so that's it's a bitter pill to swallow. They did not, in my opinion, handle this in any gentle or well-communicated way, and took advantage of the fact that they're really the only game there is right now. And that feels pretty shady, and that's the nicest word I have right now, is shady. It feels shady.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't, yeah, no, you go ahead.
I guess I just want to share this, and I want to preface it with, I don't want to influence anyone's decisions. Here at Library is not part of the Indiana Evergreen
Right.
Digital Consortium. We're part of a different one, but our consortium just had this conversation, and our stats did not justify keeping
it
overdrive. And so we stopped, and I think it's up to the individual libraries to find their own solution that works for their community. So that's what another consortium has chosen to do, because I think the price was very similar, regardless of the size of that sounds like a very similar price to what we were told, and we just couldn't.
Yeah, I think
afford
that
it.
that's kind of the price that they're, because it is identical to the price that the Indiana Digital Download group received, and they are what, like a
There's 60 libraries.
60 libraries, and we're 100 libraries, so it doesn't seem to really correspond
Mhm.
to either the number of members or population served.
Yeah.
So,
It's just, this is the consortium rate. We have identified that you are a consortium.
and you can't really do anything about it other than pay it or leave.
And we didn't much care for it.
Yeah, it's,
Unfortunately, they have, the offering that they do have is a 3,000 title.
it's uncurated as well.
It's uncurated. So
So-
there's a lot of titles, and they're all simultaneous use compared to the 35 titles we were getting previously. But
It feels a little like Project Gutenberg that you have to pay $45,000 for. But anyway, I'm gonna be quiet about it. Obviously, I have opinions.
so, yeah.
And they have various languages. Not just,
Yes, so if you were excited about getting People magazine in Dutch, I have good news for you. If you, however, are not, if that demographic does not match with your community very well, then perhaps a somewhat superfluous offering.
A little superfluous.
Okay. Moving on to the Patron Services Committee. We met on June 15th. The biggest news there is that we are working on the procedure guides update for that. I know that Lori couldn't be with us this afternoon. I don't think there was any other thing that was super impactful that happened at that meeting. So someone after the fact can correct me if I was wrong, or we'll catch it up next meeting here. The Strategic Plan Committee met yesterday, August 9th at 1 p.m. The big focus was on the upcoming Evergreen Indiana Annual Conference. It will have there will be an activity there that conference attendees will be able to participate in, just kind of helping us to get that qualitative feedback about Evergreen as we try to put together a long-term plan for the consortium. We have put out the strategic planning survey has been created. Thank you to all the members of the executive committee who have sent in their responses and helped us kind of keep the tires on it and make sure that the data that comes back to it is going to be usable, and that we haven't made any glaring mistakes in the creation or structure of the survey. So that is something that will be released between now and the annual conference, and members will be able to take it at the annual conference. So we can try, we really want to try and get as many people as possible, from library directors down to circulation workers, everybody up and down the chain of command, to kind of give us their opinions here so that we can use that data to help form some focus groups here in the near future. Whew. Okay,
Are there any questions?
yeah, we are ready for questions. If anybody has anything about the state library report or any of the committee recaps. All right. So first thing, I think this is our only piece of unfinished business. I don't know, I might surprise myself as I move down through the slides here. The Evergreen Indiana Annual Conference is coming up in just a little over 2 weeks at the Fort Harrison Garrison Conference Center, which will never not be funny to say. Jake Spears is agreed to give a welcome address there. As Ruth mentioned earlier, there are going to be 11 sessions and 3 distinct tracks. And then there will be a strategic planning element there in the morning. One thing that we are kind of looking for input, feedback, guidance is the possibility of requiring masks for conference goers. I know it's a little bit of a sticking point for folks who were free to or were excited to be free of the masks, but now we're kind of as a state, and especially this area of the state, it's kind of in a bad way with the Delta variant of the coronavirus. So one thing that Ruth has graciously agreed to take on is we have purchased some cloth masks
And disposable masks. We'll have both of them available there.
Yep. So everybody will get not just cloth masks and disposable masks, but the cloth masks will be Evergreen branded, I believe.
Yep.
So everybody will get some free masks in their swag bags for attending.
And hand sanitizer.
So if
I mentioned
anyone
I have
would like
opinions.
to discuss, or I don't know if it would be appropriate to make a motion for the executive committee to add a mask mandate to the annual
It
conference,
would
but-
definitely be appropriate for the executive committee to have a discussion and then decide if they want to have a vote.
Okay,
But it is completely up to. And understanding that it is also, it's a bit of a loaded topic, we know that, so.
What is the current status of Marion County right now?
It will take me just a second to get there.
Okay,
Fort Harrison and Marion.
Yes.
It is, yes.
Okay.
and that's no longer a government building, right? Or is it? Is
It
it-
is,
part of the Department of the DNR.
yeah, it's a state building.
Okay, I didn't know if that would direct any one way or the other or not.
Then-
They have not
Is-
provided us with any guidance that says visitors are required to wear masks.
Right, and.
Okay,
The state office does not have a requirement to wear a mask if you are, they have a requirement to wear a mask if you are unvaccinated, not if you are vaccinated. That is what the state has set right now. What it will be by
I know.
8/26 in 16 days is a different thing altogether.
Right. Does anyone from the executive committee have any input, thoughts, comments that they want to say it now? No?
What's our liability risk?
What's our liability?
Yeah, like if someone went and got sick and then blames us. Like, is that a thing?
No.
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't think they could.
So Marion County is red. In fact, every county around us is red.
Yep.
That's the are you looking at CDC instead of the Indiana Department of Health? Yeah.
And that's a high level of community transmission. So all of the federal buildings, and I think that you may already know this, the federal buildings are all mask mandated at the least. Several of them have closed again to in-person stuff, services. I happen to know the Social Security Department is closed in Marion County. It's very helpful. So
I know we have a contract with Fort Harrison, but should we really be hosting an in-person event with numbers getting up higher?
So we've been taking a look at the registrations. Right now, they are about 130, but only 75 of them are in person. The main ballroom, so to speak, that will allow for having that set up for social distancing. And that's part of how we're planning right now. Beyond that, I mean, that isn't the plan, but if you all decide that we shouldn't, then we shouldn't, right?
A lot financially if we can.
We'll be out the $800 for sure,
Yeah, and $800.
Yeah.
Which is what we have.
which is okay.
We
in my
put
opinion.
down,
Yeah,
like,
I
we
mean, if
can-
it was in the
All
thousands,
right.
800, I mean.
Does any member of the executive committee want to make a motion?
Nancy has in chat mentioned to use the state map over the CDC.
For what reason?
Just for looking at the like the infection rate or the transmission rate.
I feel like the state maps are more accurate for local numbers and CDC is looking at a different perspective.
And I'm looking at the state map where Marion is at yellow.
Mhm. Yeah. And if there are only 75, there probably is the opportunity to social distance.
Correct.
Monica just commented that state map numbers are over a week old. They only update it on Wednesdays, right, at noon.
So
And I am aware our city hall shut down yesterday and the Crothersville schools shut down yesterday or this morning because of exposure.
so things are moving kind of fast, it sounds like.
At least they are here.
I will say that the 12th, so today is the last day to register for the conference because we have to get final head counts for attendance to the garrison by this Thursday, the 12th. And that will be, that's when we will essentially agree to have food prepared. Beyond that, I don't know. I'd have to look at the contract and see what the possibility would be of getting money back after we've made those commitments would look like, what we would still be liable for. It's probable at this point that we would still be liable after the 12th. My suspicion is that we would be liable for more than just the $800 deposit. I would need like confirmed guidance about that. But as far as planning to have it in person, the hope is that we have taken by having fewer than 80 people in person that will allow for social distancing, distributing hand sanitizer and face masks, and meals will all be plated except for breakfast, which they will have disposable gloves for people to use. We're really trying to minimize the potential for contact and exposure. So we're definitely taking a lot of precautions. But really the biggest precaution is just
Not
that
being in
many
person.
people, yeah.
Is there anything that you think we'll lose? Like, I know the strategic plan committee wanted to have kind of an interactive session. What do you foresee as the things that we could lose out on from a growing and learning perspective by not doing it in person? Is that about the only situation? I know that you lose a lot of networking and just getting to see people, but I'm just trying to weigh, what will we be missing out on if we don't meet in person?
You lose lunch.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty darn important, but.
And of course, we've been planning to simulcast the sessions anyway. So all of the only concession would be is that folks who were planning to present sessions would need some way to present their sessions or join in to present their sessions from their home libraries.
Well, the thing that we did previously when the conference was canceled is we didn't try to do it all the same day. We don't have time to switch it to a fully, online conference right now. But we switched it out so that then those sessions were over the course of the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And we did the training Tuesdays, and so those people who had content still got to
Gotcha.
do that. It did open up the opportunity for people to attend all of the sessions.
Yes.
As opposed to 4 of them. So that's possibly something to be gained. I did see that Nancy had.
Yeah.
Can you read that
Yeah,
comment?
conference is on a Thursday, so you would have accurate numbers the day before. How about something along the lines of plan may change if Marion County is red as of August 25th?
I think that the date that is too close to it as far as financial liability goes, as well as staff scheduling in libraries. That if that we either proceed as planned and we're committed to it, or we cancel it today.
I think you'd be in the minority. I don't know, but I kind of feel at this point, just to be on the safe side, it might be better to not do it. My thinking is, schools are just now getting back into session. People with children are going to have more exposure. There's just a lot of community factors out there. As much as I would love to get together with everybody and do it and feel somewhat normal, I'm not sure that that's our best move. I'm willing to make that motion, but I would like to hear what other people have to say too. I don't want to be the lone
I'm
voice
not a
of
voting
dissent.
member, but I will say I actually agree with you 100%, despite all the work that we have put in and the fact that we are ready to do a conference. I would seriously question my career if anybody came and got sick at this conference. I don't know a gentler way to say that somehow I felt like I pushed people to meet together. And you all know I love to talk and love to see one and all of you in person. But if something were to happen to you just because we wanted to have a conference, I'd lose it.
As
Whatever
someone-
it is.
Okay, so was that Jennifer that made a motion to cancel? I can't tell because I don't have that screen up.
Oh, it's okay. It was me. It was
Yeah.
Jennifer. I haven't made a formal motion. I kind of.
Okay, okay.
Just because I don't want to be the only one who's saying this. I
There's a
want to see
comment
what
from
you think.
Sonia as well.
And yeah, Sonia is also agreeing that, she says, I also agree. The Delta variant is just so much more transmissible. Janet says, I agree too.
Okay. Then
So
I make
think
a
you-
motion.
So-
So moved.
Okay. All right, so Jennifer has moved to not hold the conference in person. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Janet.
Janet seconded. Is there any discussion beyond what we've already had?
So I don't know that this is discussion about this or discussion for afterward. I will then be in the mode of assuming a vote goes ahead in favor of this. If it does, I will be in the mode then of converting this back into the same thing that we did previously, which is contact all the presenters and see if they're willing to do online presentations. They may not. And then scheduling them and then making that schedule available to the membership for Zoom trainings.
Honestly, I feel like this opens it up for people to do it when
It
they
does.
can. It's not just one day. And I know we're all looking forward to having some sense of normalcy, but I don't think this is the year.
Yeah, we were
Despite
so
our best
very
plans.
hopeful.
I
We're
think
so
we-
hopeful.
If it had been if the conference had been 2 months prior, I think we
We'd have been
probably
okay.
would have been in a place where we could have maybe gone ahead, but things are, we're
This is
kind
why
of,
we can't have nice things.
yeah, it feels like we're at the tip of an avalanche right now, And I do not want any of our library staff to be
Pushed over.
pushed over. As someone who has a mother that's very, would be devastated by COVID, I would not want her to come to this conference.
So they were- I think
Okay. Go ahead, sorry.
just so there was-
Krista Ledbetter says it's the sensible thing to do, and agreeing with the discussion we've had so far.
Okay, so we're gonna do the vote. Should we do a roll call vote on this to make sure we have the numbers, or is it pretty much unanimous? I don't know how you feel. I know when we do one, we're gonna have to do roll call votes if we have people online.
I think it's worth doing a roll call vote.
Okay,
For something this, yeah, if we could have each person's vote next to each person's name next to the vote, that would be appropriate, I think.
okay, and I only vote in case of a tie, right?
I believe that that is the case.
Is that the
Yes.
case?
Okay, so Jennifer, do you have the membership, or should I go off of, I don't have the new members on my list here.
Here, so I'll just call out names and you guys can respond. Does that work? Or do you want to put it
That's
in the
exactly
chat
right.
or, okay. Janet Wallace,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Nancy,
You have the option to either vote nay or to abstain as well.
Yep.
And no
Make sure
judgment.
you unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll vote in favor.
Okay,
Scott,
Yay.
Sonia,
Yay.
Krista.
Yes.
Is there anybody that I missed? Myself, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, okay,
so, yeah,
it's unanimous to go ahead and not do it in person. And so there's no mask mandate. What are you gonna do with all those masks?
So we'll go ahead and actually make them because there's a making process. And then we will distribute them. There aren't enough for every staff member to have one, but we will distribute some to the libraries, however that's gonna work. And that will be that, because hopefully we won't ever have to like use them for anything else in the future.
I think everybody who has signed up for the conference should get one.
Yeah, we'll do that. What Lynn just said.
we'll mail them out, info express them.
Yeah.
We'll express them to everybody who has actually signed up for the conference.
They may not.
We'll get one.
Okay. I was gonna say, so I should hurry up and do that after this meeting since I hadn't yet.
We actually don't have enough for that because of people who are gonna attend remotely. So we're gonna send one to each member library and you guys decide how you want to distribute it.
Okay,
Script.
That mask, yeah, whether it be a collage or that one lucky person on staff.
Okay.
all right, so that's unfinished business. So that was approved.
Fundraiser.
Moving on to new business. First thing you have on here is executive committee officer elections.
Yes.
I am currently acting as chair-elect still. I had mentioned 2 months ago that I was told to step back from things if I could. As long as a meeting like this is all I really have to do, I would be happy to be chair. But if there is someone else who would like to step into that position, you're more than welcome to take it. So are there any nominations for the chair? None? I mean, I could stay as chair unless there is any other nominations for chair.
And Julia, this is by and large the body of work that the chair does is
Okay,
meeting. And then if there is like just a little bit of paperwork sometimes before or after a meeting related to new membership,
Yep.
essentially.
okay,
New hires at the admin office, usually the someone from the executive committee usually sits in on those interviews.
Yeah, but none of us are planning on leaving
No.
while you're.
Okay, that's good. You can't leave
Yeah,
before next August.
please honor the fact that your board is out.
Krista has mentioned that she can do it, if you want to step down, Julie.
Are you, so you're still on, that I would appreciate that, Krista, if you would be willing to step up.
I can do it. I don't mind. It's Keith and Ruth make it easy, so I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay. I heard that, Jennifer.
Our mic, good, very good.
Okay, so Krista's been nominated as chair. Do we have anyone to be nominated for chair-elect? Who would fill in if Krista's not available and would step up to chair the following year?
It is essentially a 2-year commitment the first year.
Yeah, it is.
If this is your
I
last
think-
executive committee, please do not.
Then you're not qualified.
Yeah,
I do. This Janet, I could do that.
okay. Janet's nominated herself for chair-elect. Anybody else interested? Okay, what about secretary? Jennifer's currently serving as secretary. Does anybody else want to do it, or did Jennifer want to continue?
I'm happy to continue, but I'm also willing to give it up if someone else just loves furiously scribbling notes.
Now, you shouldn't say it that way, because now nobody will do it.
Oh, no, we've
It's
all been
really no
around the block.
problem.
We know.
Don't have so much fun whitewashing that fence over there, Jennifer.
Okay. All right, hearing none, we now have a slate of officers. Do I have a motion to approve that slate? Krista, Janet, and Jennifer?
So moved.
Is that Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, Scott moved. Is there a second?
I'll second. Nancy.
Nancy seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve those officers for this year. All those in favor? We're not going to go through the roll call. Just say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you guys for volunteering. I really appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you
And
for
thank you,
everyone for your
Janet,
service. For
Julia.
Julia, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still on this thing. I'm just not going to chair it. So,
So is that effective immediately now?
well, it would be effective immediately. Yeah, because we're after this meeting. I don't know how you want to do that.
Okay.
I'll let you finish the meeting, Julia.
I figured you would. Okay. The next thing under new business is to do some budget reallocations to keep Chilton's database.
So-
Keith, I'm going to turn that to you.
Thanks. So this is something that we talked, when the e-content committee met in June, we were at a situation where a bunch of money had been reallocated in the 2020 budget towards e-content offerings, just to use some of that money that we couldn't use while libraries were shut down, to put that towards e-content that our libraries and patrons could use. And so this is where things like the Turnkey Book Club came from. And we also subscribed to Chilton's and Yale legal forms during that time. And then 2021 came around, things became slightly more normal. And so then we were left playing Sophie's Choice with which of these databases would we like to keep and which would we like to hold on to. And it was the e-content committee's recommendation that I try and negotiate with Gale to see if we could get the cost down so that we could keep both Chilton's and Gale legal forms. And so after talking with our contact at Gale, he was able to drop the price for us from the initial list price of $54,716 to $49,637 for the 2021-2022 year. This would be effective September 1st. Currently in the budget for e-content this year, we have $31,637 that is unspoken for. There is $18,000 in a line item budget for server hosting that we set aside every year just in case we need to
Start paying the data center.
start paying the data center out of our pockets instead of the state library's pocket. Because they are not doing that this year, reallocating that $18,000 from server hosting would let us keep both the Chilton's databases and Gale legal forms for another year. That is what I have for you. If anybody would like to discuss that allocation and we'll make a motion and or vote, I am here for it.
I was gonna say, if it's a committee's recommendation, it doesn't even require a second, right? Robert's rules.
This wasn't something that the committee voted on. No, this was.
Okay, they did not. Okay. So does anybody have comments?
It was a recommendation, yeah.
Because it's a budgetary concern, the not e-content.
They couldn't do it. Okay.
Has full governance over that. So the e-content can only really recommend, it's an advisory committee.
Okay. Okay, are there any comments, thoughts, motions from members of the executive committee?
We don't need 18. For sure, we don't need 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not this year.
This year, we do not need the 18.
Yeah.
Because that 18,000 is for,
It's an in-case line.
it's an in-case line. In case the state library has to have a budget shortfall and we have to cover the data center.
And we also reallocated the money in 2020. That same money was reallocated towards e-content in 2020.
And that's what we do with the 18,000 when we don't need it for the data center, is reallocate that 18,000 to e-content.
Good question. Thank you.
Okay,
I would move that we reallocate the $18,000 from server hosting so that we can keep both databases for the 2021-2022 year.
okay, and that meant, what was that motion from Jennifer?
Correct.
Is there a second to the motion? Or was that Sonia?
I'll second. This is Sonia.
Okay, Sonia's seconded. It's been moved and seconded to go ahead and transfer that $18,000 in so that we can purchase both databases for 21-22. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Nope, motion's carried. Then I was going to say we could do a roll call vote, but I didn't think we needed to. So we're going to do that. All right, so then the next new business is to talk about moving annual conference to every other year and have regional roundtables in the off year, which isn't that what we did before several years ago?
I was gonna say, it's changed over the years. It would be nice for, in my opinion, this is Ruth, with an opinion, shocking, to decide and not change it. I think that it changed and then I'm not sure why it changed again. But yes, to go back to that.
Yeah, there are some bullet points up there. I can kind of rehash, but it's always a struggle to try and find topics and presenters for the conference. And on some of the registration forms that we got for the conference, there was specific feedback to the effect of, hey, it would be nice if, we could all meet together and have like roundtable style discussions. So, that kind of kills two birds with one stone. Really, I'm just showing off the fact that I know what the difference between biennial and biannual is, because I always trip up on this. Moving to a biennial conference and then have the regional roundtables fill in the intervening years, assuming that we ever get to have an annual conference again.
I'll make the motion to go with the recommendation to establish the biennial conference and regional roundtables on alternating years.
There is some discussion from Monica here. I believe that the
Oh, sorry.
I believe that the roundtables were on alternating years from when ISL and EI staff visited every EI library in the state. I think the annual conference continued to occur every year during that time.
Monica, I think that's accurate.
Just a question. So since we're not doing the annual conference this year, would you then wait 2 years to do one, or how would that be?
It would probably go back to its established time, which is in March, in line with the annual meeting. Of course, that's only 6 months from now, 7 months from now. I'm not doing the math accurately, 7 months. And who knows what the COVID landscape is going to look like. I know we all have some fatigue, a lot of fatigue when it comes to that. So possibly it would be 18 months from now.
Okay.
And Nancy says, I think regional roundtables seem like a sound idea for 2022. I would lean toward that as well, to do roundtables prior to the next in-person conference.
The only argument that I would make for having a conference in 2022 is that we still have that $800.
Oh, we're gonna lose that.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
I think that actually, that's forfeit if we don't use it for this conference right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't roll or.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
it was-
rolled as far as.
It's already rolled.
Yeah.
Okay, I had wondered if there was anything in the bylaws that said anything about our holding an annual meeting.
An annual meeting, yes,
Yes.
which is not the same as the annual conference.
Okay, annual, all right. So,
We need to
sorry.
have an annual meeting at the annual conference because you have such a large portion of the membership present anyway, in person. But this year we held the annual conference at the end of March, I think.
Yeah.
And we just did it all virtually. And we can do the same thing again for 2022.
Perhaps, depending on the guidance from the state, that may still need to be in person, but it doesn't have to constitute an entire conference.
Okay, so Nancy made the motion to go ahead and approve switching from an annual conference to a biennial conference and establish biennial regional roundtables. Was there a second to that?
This is Janet. I'll make that second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to change to that recommendation. Is there any further discussion?
Want to add to that with the regional roundtable starting in 2022? Does that need to be established as part of the motion? Sorry.
That's
Probably should. Is that okay with you, Janet, to still second that?
Yes.
Okay, she's amended her. I'm gonna just ignore and say she's amended this to say that. So any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that's been moved. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Now, that's all new business unless someone has something else to bring up. The next thing is announcements.
All right. The only announcement that we have is that our next meeting will be in a little over 2 months on October the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Location is still going to be that big TBD until we have more guidance and we can get our finger on the pulse of what the health situation is looking like. We just don't have the guidance yet on whether if it were up to me, I would continue to do meetings virtually and not worry about trying to meet in person. Not that I don't love seeing y'all, but for now, we're just gonna have to play it by ear. I believe that's all I have.
All right. Well, does anyone want to make a motion that we adjourn at 2:22?
So
It's
moved.
Krista, so moved.
Okay, Krista's moved.
I'll second then.
Nick's got the second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. This was my last meeting to lead, so thank you again, Krista and Janet and Jennifer for stepping up as officers.
Thank you, everyone who attended today.
Yeah, stay safe.
Talk River. Yep,
Bye.
thank you.
I have another question.
Sure.